Now the old double diamond lay.
Hi boys and girls, I'm Flat Stanley, and I just returned from an awesome week visiting Natalie Price's grandmother and grandfather in Alpine, Wyoming. Natalie calls John and Ray Price Nana and Popper. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, and the deer and the antelope play, and where grizzly bear, black bear, beaver, elk, sage grouse, gray wolves, mountain lions, mountain goats, bighorn sheep, and hundreds of other animals make their home. I arrived at Nana and Popper's home in the quaint town of Alpine, Wyoming, population 828. At an elevation of 5,700 feet above sea level, Alpine is located 35 miles south of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Hey, does anyone know the elevation of Brookline, Massachusetts? It's 50 feet. That means Alpine is over 1 mile higher in elevation than Lincoln School. Because of its proximity to Jackson Hole, many who work in Jackson make their home in Alpine. Alpine also provides visitors with a small town atmosphere and an abundance of activities for every season. Alpine sits at the crossroad leading to Star Valley and bordering by 3 great mountain rivers, the Snake River, Grays River, and Salt River. All 3 rivers merge and flow into the Palisades Reservoir, which provides hydroelectric power and water for irrigation of potato and other farms in Idaho. East of Alpine is the Bridger National Forest, where Popper fishes for cutthroat trout. To the west lay Black Mountain in Idaho and the Targhee National Forest. From Alpine, Nana and Popper escorted me to Jackson Hole. Jackson Hole is a valley located in Wyoming near the western border with Idaho. The name Hole derives from the language used by early trappers or mountain men who primarily entered the valley from the north and east and had to descend along relatively steep slopes, giving the sensation of entering a hole. These low-lying valleys are surrounded by mountains and contain rivers and streams which were good habitat for beaver and other fur-bearing animals. The valley is thought to have been named after David Edward Davy Jackson, who trapped beaver in the area in the early 19th century as part of the Rocky Mountain Fur Company. Though used by Native Americans for hunting and ceremonial purposes, the valley was not known to harbor year-round human settlement prior to 1870s. Descriptions of the valley and its features were recorded in the journals of John Coulter, who had been a member of the Lewis and Clark expedition. After returning to the Rocky Mountains, Coulter entered the region in 1807 and became the first white American to see the valley. The people first to settle the region were Native Americans, then fur trappers, and then homesteaders. Because the soil is not ideal for raising crops, the valley was used for cattle. Tourism quickly became popular with the establishment of dude ranches. Our next stop was the National Elk Refuge just north of Jackson Hole and home to the largest elk herd on Earth. The refuge was established to provide winter habitat for the Jackson elk herd. Elk leave the lower elevations in April and May, following the receding snow line back into the high country. In their summer range, elk feed on lush meadow plants and use forests for shelter. From the Elk Refuge, we traveled north to the main entrance to Grand Teton National Park. Grand Teton National Park has towering mountain spires which have been compared to cathedral towers, reaching almost 14,000 feet skyward, picturesque glacier lakes, and a great deal of interesting topography. The roughly 500 miles of Grand Teton contain about 160 miles of paved roads and another 250 miles of hiking trails. In August of 2013, Popper and two friends climbed the Grand Teton Mountain, which is 13,775 feet above sea level. The park is home to grizzly bear or brown bear. Signs cautioned us, "Be bear aware," and to stay away from herds of bison. While in the park, we saw a beaver lodge and an old ferry used 100 years ago to cross the Snake River. We visited Poker Flats, an original homestead of 1963.
For a cowboy has to sing melody, and a cowboy has to yell, ha! Or his heart would break inside of him at the gate of the home corral. Yippee-yay, yippee-yay, yippee-oh, end of day, home we go. Yippee-yay, yippee-yay, yippee-oh, end of day, home we go. Ha! An old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way. When all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, riding through the dusty skies and up a cloudy draw. Yippee-yi-yay, yippee-yi-yo.
North of Grand Teton National Park is the nation's first national park, Yellowstone. Yellowstone was signed into law by President Ulysses S. Grant in 1872. Situated on 2.2 million acres, Yellowstone encompasses 3,472 square miles and boasts 310 miles of paved roads and 1,000 miles of backcountry trails, and is home to more geysers and hot springs than the combined total in the rest of the world. From Grand Teton Park, we explored Mormon Row. Mormon Row was once a vibrant community. The Homestead Act of 1862 enabled this settlement in the 1890s to come together, which promised 160 acres to any person willing to build a house and cultivate the land for 5 years. Lush sagebrush in the area indicated healthy soil and brought the first Mormon families to the area with the hopes of beginning a new life. With construction of ranches, homes, a church, and a school, a true community began to blossom. The land was the foundation of that community. Families dug miles of ditches across the landscape to bring water from the Grevant River to nourish their summer fields. Our last stop before returning home to Brookline was Teton Village, Wyoming. On the way, we passed Rancher Dan and his ranch hand Cheryl. They were returning from a cattle drive and about to load their horses in the trailer. Rancher Dan is a native Wyoming cowboy, and Cheryl lives in Charlotte, Virginia.
Trying to catch the devil's herd.
Teton Village is a scenic 12 miles northwest of Jackson Hole and the Jackson Hole Mountain Resort, the largest and most popular ski area in Wyoming. With more than 4,000 vertical feet of varied terrain, Jackson Hole Mountain Resort draws expert and beginner skiers and snowboarders alike from around the world. The resort hosts a plethora of summer and winter activities. Summer visitors can enjoy lift-accessible mountain biking, scenic tram rides, hiking trails, paragliding, live music, and horseback riding. Other than epic skiing and boarding, winter visitors enjoy a 17-kilometer groomed cross-country ski track, snowshoeing, and scenic tram rides. While exploring the resort, I met first grade school teachers Chris from Corvallis, Oregon, and Laura from Logan, Utah. I want to thank Natalie Price for sending me to Alpine, Wyoming, and Nana and Popper for introducing me to the beautiful and historic areas of Jackson Hole, Grand Teton, and Yellowstone National Parks. Happy trails, everyone! This is Flat Stanley. See you back at school.